Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. I hope you're safe. I hope you're not coming close to anyone with coronavirus. You know, the trouble with this virus is we don't know who has it and who doesn't because we have asymptomatic carriers and what have you. But anyway, here in Ardmore, we are beginning to see the opening back up of businesses. As a matter of fact, I think I shared with you the other day, I made a trip into town just the other day to get some essentials, and I drove by one of the building supply businesses here in town. I've never even seen the parking lot that full. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. I could hardly believe my eyes. And I thought, well, it's not food. What's going on here? It is what it is. But be that as it may, things are beginning to open up again. I guess in 14 to 17 days, we're going to see whether or not opening businesses back up, getting back out among the public, we're going to see what kind of an impact it has. The incubation period is evidently some 14 to 17 days, somewhere along in there. We can just hope and pray that this virus does not make a resurgence. We need to continue to be constant in prayer. We need to be constantly looking to the Lord and trusting in Him. Okay, we are concluding our study of Matthew 24, verse 34, in which Jesus, answering the questions of the apostles, which were asked in response to his prediction of the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. Jesus said, "Do you not see all of these things? The time is coming in which not one stone will be left standing on top of another." The apostles responded by saying, "Tell us, when shall these things be? What shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" Jesus began then to discuss and to give them the answers to their questions. Now, as I've shared with you before, and I mean this is illustrated day after day after day on Facebook as I engage former preterists, as I engage those who are against preterism. They come to Matthew chapter 24 and verse 3, and they assume, without offering one syllable, without a keystroke of proof, that the apostles were asking about a literal, physical, bodily coming of Jesus at the end of the current Christian age. It's assumed. It is assumed without proof. Well, that's what you call petitio principii. It is assuming without proof. So, the commentators and the would-be commentators, they go all the way down through Matthew chapter 24, assuming that the apostles were focused on some imaginary end of time, imagining that the apostles had some doctrine of Jesus coming out of heaven as a 5'5" Jewish man on their mind in their questions, and then they impose that meaning on Jesus' discussion. Well, I'm sorry, that's just simply bad hermeneutic. And so we are told that the apostles were confused. Even John Calvin said, the apostles could not imagine the destruction of that temple unless it happened at the end of time. Now that's a rough paraphrase, but that's the gist of John Calvin's citation. I guess Mr. Calvin forgot that the Solomonic temple had been destroyed in 586 BC. I guess he forgot the apostles understood that. They knew that. They even had a festival celebrating, or commemorating that event. And yet we're supposed to believe that they could not think of the destruction of the Herodian temple without thinking about the end of time. The illogic here is astounding. We have come down to verse 34, in which Jesus said, "Verily I say unto you, this generation will by no means pass away until all of these things are fulfilled. All of what things? The things they asked about. What did they ask about? The signs of his coming and the end of the age. And all of those things, which includes verse 29 to 31, would be fulfilled, quote, this generation. I've been sharing with you the utter desperation of futurists when it comes to the term this generation. We are told, contra the lexicons, we are told that this generation refers to the generation that will see these things. Well, that claim completely ignores the fact that those things occurred in that generation. We are told this generation refers to baby making. And so baby making will come to an end when these things are fulfilled. We are told that this generation refers to this kind of people. Now remember, folks, Jesus has not referred to baby making, and he's not referred to this kind of people in the context. He has been talking about events to happen at a given time. Therefore, this generation is a discussion of when those things which would happen within time were to occur. And on it goes. You know, we're told that this generation means family, it means tribe. Basically what happens here is that futurists are willing to accept virtually any definition of this generation except the one given in the lexicons, which is when you have the demonstrative pronoun with Guinea, it refers to all of the people living at a given time. Now, we need to consider the fact that Jesus told his apostles, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, let the one who reads understand, then let those in Judea flee. Very, very quickly here, I want to point out that the setting up of the abomination of desolation comes from Daniel chapter 9, 24 to 27. Daniel 9, 24 to 27 is confined. The end, the terminus of it is the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70. Now that means that the abomination of desolation belonged to Jesus' temporal this generation. Likewise, the abomination of desolation is taken from Daniel 12. Yes, I'm familiar with the fact that Antiochus Epiphanes, that the Maccabees believed that he set it up. Well, that was their interpretation. But in Daniel chapter 12, we have the prediction of the last days, the time of the end, and the setting up of the abomination of desolation. So here we have Jesus drawing on Daniel. Daniel 9, the abomination, set within the context of the time frame that would terminate in AD 70. That's Jesus' generation. Then we have Daniel chapter 12, the abomination of desolation, spoken of during the time that would climax in the destruction of the power of the holy people. That was Jesus' temporal, this generation. Thus, Jesus is drawing on Daniel for the setting up of the abomination of desolation and the great tribulation. Remember, Daniel 12, and at that time, there shall be great tribulation such as has never been. Jesus drawing on Daniel in Matthew chapter 24, 21 and following, said the great tribulation would follow the abomination of desolation. When would the abomination be set up? Oh, in his temporal generation. So Jesus applied Daniel twice to events to take place within his temporal framework. He did not speak of things about this kind of people. He did not speak about family. He did not speak about baby making. He was speaking about events that Daniel emphatically posited within the context and the framework of the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple, the destruction of the power of the holy people. That is absolute definitive proof that this generation was a reference to Jesus' first century generation. You need to get a copy of my book, The Resurrection of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 2, Future or Fulfilled, in which I discuss a great deal of this. In the meantime, listen, I'm working on an absolutely incredible May special. It's going to be broken up into a couple of options for you. It's going to be my resurrection packages, or package, if you please. And you thought April was fantastic? Well, I want to tell you, this is going to be fantastic as well. Be patient with me. We're still working on it to figure out what we can do price-wise, but you will like this. Guaranteed. Hey, I'll see you on the flip side.